There exists a photograph that should never have been taken. Marilyn Monroe appears sitting in a metal chair inside a room without windows, with her hands crossed on her lap. She is not smiling, her eyes fixed on some point beyond the camera. That image was found decades later, hidden in a manila envelope, without a date, without a signature. And what it reveals about the last days of the world's most desired actress could change everything you think you know about her death. August 1962. Los Angeles suffocates under a heat wave. Marilyn Monroe is alone in her Brentwood home. Officially, she is living her last days of life. But what happened between the night of August 3rd and the early morning of the 5th was never completely explained. The official versions contradict each other. Witnesses change their testimonies. And there is one detail that nobody managed to erase. Marilyn made 3 phone calls that night. 3 calls that lasted more than 20 minutes each. Who was she talking to? And why did all the records of those calls disappear from the telephone company's archives? The answer may lie in something that happened 2 months earlier. In June of that year, Marilyn was discreetly admitted to a private psychiatric clinic in Westwood. Nobody knew, not even her closest friends. The official reason, nervous exhaustion. But the medical records from that hospitalization, obtained years later by an investigative journalist, reveals something disturbing. Marilyn was not just tired, she was terrified. In sessions with the psychiatrist, she repeated the same phrase, always in a low voice, almost a whisper. "They are watching me. They know what I know." Who were they? And what exactly did Marilyn know? During that summer, the actress was at the center of a political and sentimental web involving the 2 most powerful men in America, President John Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. Rumors about the love affairs were already circulating in Hollywood's backstage, but what few knew is that Marilyn had begun keeping a diary, a red hard-covered notebook where she wrote down conversations, names, dates. According to close witnesses, she wrote everything. Everything she heard during intimate encounters, details about secret operations, names of agents, plans that should never have been mentioned outside the White House's secure rooms. And that notebook disappeared the night Marilyn died. Now, think honestly, if you discovered secrets that could destroy careers, shake governments, and put your own life at risk, what would you do? Would you keep silent, or would you try to use that as protection? Marilyn chose the second option, and that may have been her biggest mistake. In the weeks leading up to her death, she began acting strangely. She canceled appointments without warning, changed residences temporarily, slept at friends' houses. On one occasion, she called her makeup artist at 3 in the morning, saying she had noticed a black car parked in front of her house for hours. When the police were called, the vehicle had already disappeared. No record was made, no investigation was opened, as if nothing had happened. But something was happening. Behind the scenes of power, Marilyn's situation had become a national security problem. According to CIA documents declassified decades later, the actress was under surveillance, her phone calls were tapped, her correspondence intercepted, and there is mention in an internal memorandum dated July 62 about the need to contain a possible compromising exposure involving high-level figures. Marilyn's name does not appear explicitly, but the code used to identify her, Target Phoenix, was circled in red. Then came the night of August 4th. Marilyn was agitated. She called her psychiatrist, Ralph Greenson, asking him to come to her house. Greenson arrived around 7 in the evening and stayed with her for almost 2 hours. When he left, he told the housekeeper, Eunice Murray, that Marilyn was calm and was going to sleep. But Eunice noticed something strange. The lights in Marilyn's room remained on throughout the night. She could see the reflection under the door, and around midnight she heard voices, men's voices, inside the house. Eunice was never able to explain who those men were, or how they got in, or why she didn't open the bedroom door to check. She only said, years later, in an interview recorded shortly before her death, "I knew I shouldn't ask. I knew it was better not to see." At 3:30 in the morning, Eunice finally called Greenson back. When the psychiatrist arrived, he broke the bedroom window and found Marilyn lying on the bed, naked, with the phone in her hand, dead. The police were called at 4:25 in the morning, but there are witnesses who claim to have seen an ambulance leaving the property hours before the official arrival of authorities, an ambulance that was never registered, a rescue that never appeared in the reports. And the red notebook? It was never found. Thank you so much for making it this far. I know this story is difficult to hear, but what I am about to reveal now is the detail that was buried deeper than any other, the secret that explains why so many people lied for so many years. 3 days before she died, Marilyn tried to schedule a press conference. She wanted to speak publicly, denounce, expose everything. Her lawyer was categorical. It would be professional suicide. But Marilyn was not worried about her career. She was worried about her own life. And in a call secretly recorded by a journalist friend, Marilyn said something that only came to light in 2006 when that journalist's personal archives were donated to a university. "If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident, and it wasn't my choice." In the autopsy, the coroner found high levels of barbiturates in Marilyn's blood, but he found no residue from the capsules in her stomach, which means the medications were not ingested. They were injected, were administered in another way. When the coroner pointed out this inconsistency, he was removed from the case. Another doctor signed the final report. Cause of death, accidental overdose, possible suicide. Case closed. But the truth was never closed. For decades, independent investigators, journalists, and even former intelligence agents tried to put the pieces together. And what emerges from this puzzle is not the story of a fragile actress who succumbed to fame. It is the story of a woman who became a political risk, a woman who knew too much, and who was silenced because the cost of keeping her alive was greater than the cost of eliminating her. Marilyn Monroe did not die alone that night. She died surrounded by secrets that belonged to others, secrets that to this day protect reputations built on lies. And while the world mourned the death of the cinema goddess, the true perpetrators continued their lives, untouched, invisible, protected by a veil of silence that only absolute power can weave. What remains of Marilyn today is not just an image frozen in time. It is a question that was never answered. How far is power capable of going to protect itself? If this story made you question what really happened that August night, if it made you realize that not everything we are told is true, then you have already begun to see beyond the surface. And if you want to continue this investigation, if you want to discover other secrets that were buried by official history, subscribe to the channel, because there are other stories like this, other truths that were never told, and they are waiting for you.